Yeah. Did I miss something here? How the semicolon came here? That is the only question which I had.
No, I think when you were moving, your key got typed something like that.
Was in.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Like so. Just tell me, Jimsil, where and all you had kind of questions or recaps. What type of things are required to you?
Okay, based on the videos, what I went, the few thing was like what is Heroku, the third party system, what is that?
Mhm.
And see, there is somewhere in the video you said when uh, we schedule a class, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You said somewhere you said you cannot modify a already scheduled class. Schedule means it's you're scheduling a batch, right?
Yeah.
So you're scheduling a batch from the org, right? From the UI part, right?
Correct.
Salesforce
Correct.
UI
Correct.
you're
Correct.
scheduling.
Yeah.
And when you say you cannot modify, what does that mean? I did not get, because from the code you
See,
can always modify anything, right?
no. Yeah. So we have to answer this now.
Yeah.
Something if you already have been scheduled for that scheduled class, you cannot modify the apex. I mean, a class you written, ABC class,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you written, and that
Mm-hmm.
class is a batch class,
Mm-hmm.
and you may be calling that particular batch class a schedulable class. If this
Mm-hmm.
batch class has been called in some scheduled class and you have scheduled it, so even the
Mm-hmm.
scheduled class you cannot modify, the batch class also you cannot modify. Modify in the
Okay.
sense, of course, you cannot go and edit and then save that particular class if a logic you want to add it. So there's a dependency in that. So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
any class you try to modify, that shouldn't have any dependency, like it should be scheduled. So in that case, this yeah, you can go and modify the classes. If it is already scheduled, then you cannot modify such classes. So be it in the
Okay. Okay.
scheduled class, you are trying to have any ABC class also, you are linking them. Even those classes also would not be able to modify.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the
Okay.
first thing.
So if you're calling any class in a schedulable class, then you will not be able, and you have scheduled it, you'll not be able to modify.
Yeah, I mean they wanted to see why it is happening is because you said that is went for schedule, and it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely has to do its own job.
Okay, okay.
You getting? So
Yeah,
while it is trying to do some job, so you are trying to abort
we
them
cannot
or trying
change,
to, yeah, you're
modify.
trying to interrupt
Uh,
them. So modifying a
okay,
logic would be impacting their the logic which is about to run. Of course,
okay,
we know
okay,
it is you're gonna run on some specific time, but so
okay,
that would be in a read-only mode, and the logic would
okay,
be in read-only mode. And when it executes, so that time they open up and then say they execute the logic to update the records or what are the DML activity that you wanted to perform.
okay, okay. I think I got that part. And another thing is like when you say when a future method runs, when future methods run, when the resources are free. What do you mean when the resources are free there? The
Very good
future
question.
methods will run when the resources are free. The resources is the CPU utilization or anything else
Exactly.
also?
Oh, you got the point
Oh,
there.
okay.
So yes, of course, since it's being shared or a public cloud, we say so everyone is sharing the resources. So tomorrow, if I
Mm-hmm.
say I'm gonna give you a new organizer setup for you, so you go to login.salesforce.com. So you have a production version there. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone from a production version only they can create a sandboxes. Sandboxes generally for development purpose we are using it. So let's say
Okay.
all the sandboxes one day it goes to a production and that system is live. So you think that it is a shared system. Let's say in
Mm-hmm.
Asia Pacific region, this server one has maybe around thousands like login.salesforce been shared. So everyone has been like they have been created their own setup of a platform to each and every one. So all these guys are residing in one server, like say Asian Pacific or APAC or AP 26 server.
Mm-hmm.
So this AP 26 server, 1,000 people are residing there. It's just like an apartment, 1,000 people are residing there. Now, assume for this 1,000 flats which is having there in that particular server or an apartment, so their needs should be equally shared. Let's say the water,
Okay. Yeah.
electricity, all that should be equally shared. So I cannot say for one guy if it is goes high, so other guys would be impacted. So we say that is in terms of CPU utilization. Of course, in thousands, thousand, what do you say? An org has been created for in this particular server. So everyone has to share equally. So how do we share? They are doing an equal share. So we have limitations there. So your CPU has to run only for this time. Your query has to be this much, and your DML attribute should be this much. So this is all a predefined. What do you say? The boundary we already set into the Salesforce. So someone is crossing the boundary, then we say that the CPU utilization is very high. So at that time, few other jobs like this scheduled jobs or bad jobs, so they all in hold because something XYZ is running, so we have to wait for it. So that is the reason this all these asynchronous jobs which has to be run on specific time. So they will be waiting for a synchronous jobs to get over, and then these async jobs would start. So
So when like I'm just one other thing like I'm comparing to the previous organization or where I worked.
mhm.
So this CPU utilization and all things, we will do the load testing in the performance test and see what is a CPU utilization, are we exceeding or not, and all those things. Do we do that part here in Salesforce as well, or that is
Yeah, for
out?
testing team, because this is not we take. See, if we do a load testing or a performance testing against the Salesforce, we are trying against the Salesforce system. So
Okay.
ideally, we are not trying to test the Salesforce product. So we are trying to test
Mm.
the application which we built. So that would be a great thing. Of course, if you have built a community something, so they have a web page and you have your own JavaScripts implemented there, but using some
Mm.
VF page or some other lightning stuff you're using, but still you wanted to test the moment how many users are logging to that particular page or landing to that particular page. So what is the time it is getting loaded? So you can do a test there. Of course, in such
Okay.
in my previous organization, no, not like previous, so many couple of projects which I worked. So they had a test, load balancing test, also implemented on some community login pages. Post login or pre login, how fast you are landing the page.
Okay,
So
that is only the layer, like one layer you're testing. You're not testing all the way till your, like, the CPU utilization or the EC2 instances, how many will trigger. All those testing is not done here. That is all
I mean,
black box for us, right?
yeah,
Here in Salesforce.
that's absolutely back box, absolutely right.
Okay,
So
okay.
we check and know the conditions where we build some pages
Okay,
or we
that's all.
build some components. So only on top of that we can test it. Or maybe you're
Okay.
testing a component along with Salesforce, how long it, I mean, what is in the best rate it loads. So
Oh,
your component along with Salesforce instance, how far, I mean, how fast is this loads. So those things we have to keep in a track. What is the percentage of loading times? So we have to keep track of those things. If
okay.
it is
So,
if it is like our company is very robust, but still the Salesforce loading a little slow, then we have to raise a concern to Salesforce saying that hey, your system is having which is like loading slow. So then again they will do a research on to know why it is loading in our particular hour. So then maybe then our other XYZ items would have been running, like say like 50 features running or 50 batch classes running or 50
oh,
schedules is running. So then will just say, see that okay, so you are utilizing other part of resources very high. So maybe we have to increase the CPU utilization time. Buying from a
mhm.
Salesforce, we have to we have to upgrade these
Like
things.
that. Okay,
Additionally,
okay.
we gain some more percentage.
Oh, so that is completely black box because in previous like organization where I worked, it was like all these things we had to do. See, we had to do the testing and figure out how many instances we need in the AWS or what will be the CPU utilization. When should the instance spin up, new instance spin up when the load is there. So
Yeah.
all those things we had to test and do it. So we don't do that in Salesforce at all.
So the comparison here is like you might have worked on infrastructure or a private cloud, so where
Exactly.
you have your own control of dealing all this stuff. So when I say
Right.
about public, I'm just like take an apartment around 1,000 flats which is there. So my concern is all about I have to call owner boss. What is this?
Okay, okay.
And
That
now
makes
we are
sense.
on the other side now.
Okay, this life is easier here
so
comparatively.
so we don't worry about what is happening there. So we always
Mhm.
worry about the application that which we written, is it loading on time, or we have written a the snippet of a code which is like runs faster, or it doesn't take too much of time to load or do the stuff. So we have to worry about those things
Okay,
because we are
okay, I
just
got.
simply using the platform to execute some logic, and that logic should be good enough to load on time, making our meeting our conditions very fast.
Okay, okay, I think I got that. And one other thing was about the future method, right? So the future method is just like any method which you're putting the annotation on that as at the rate future, right?
But so okay, let me put the point here. So when we all talking about asynchronous apex, so the first few things which is comes in mind is okay, I think couple of logics will be here. So when we talk about asynchronous programs, so we say it is a long running task. So be it is a future, queuable, batch class, schedulable, whatever it is, they are long running process, and they can do call out in any of the any of the people you have can have the four synchronous jobs. We can have a call outs,
Mm-hmm.
and they intentionally to do a bulk data operations. So we don't call them for a simple things. We call always for the bulk operations. Yes, of
Mm-hmm.
course, future we may call for one or two records also, but these guys when we try to do something on a trigger, as of course we use this. Otherwise, so future class is also helping us to avoid mixed emails. Or so why we need to have all overall this is we have to have higher level governor limits. Let's say
Huh.
I say in one transaction you can update only 10,000 records. That's DML maximum we can do in per transaction. But you
Uh-huh.
are about to do a transaction of 50 million records you have to update. Look at
Uh-huh.
this. Now 10,000 to increasing 5 lakhs also would be a bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So to avoid this, we have this asynchronous job. Now you said right, future can have in any method. No, it should be on only on void methods. So which would
Oh.
doesn't return anything. So always this when we talk about asynchronous method, all these methods are running on voids. So they don't return anything actually. So which is a fire and forget concept. You just execute. Okay, they run on their own time. When the no utilization is little less, okay, they occupy that time. Because obviously, right, when you're doing a long running task, you should have some resources to occupy and then run through. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what we always talk about resources.
Okay. So my question was the avoid method that I forgot to mention. But in normal class, the base class, we can have a future method. It's not necessary to have future in the trigger class, right? Should the future method always be in the trigger handler or a trigger class, or it can be in any
No, no, no,
ABC
it can be in
class?
any. It can be in any.
Ah,
So look at this in the recent classes I've modified. I've thrown out them to a different Apex class. I think. So either in the original class you can have, or you can and for example in triggers we have handlers. So we put there.
yeah.
And again, what
Okay.
happened from triggers again we thrown out to. Let me show you. Actually, today we did a very good use case. I should explain that also. So this is the trigger handler we have.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
trigger handlers we have, we know that okay after insert, after update, all that we dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Now while dealing with all after update, so I'm just calling the future method here.
Yeah, this is where I stopped. I'm looking at this video itself, but I've not gone so far. Yeah.
Okay, now this is the okay. From your class to now, two videos I have to upload. So after seeing
Mm-hmm.
these two videos only, you'll get to know okay where we stand now.
Okay.
Okay, we start with integrations and then again we proceed with the next. So what I'm trying to say is, account future class I've moved to altogether to the new class, and there we have a
Mm-hmm.
method separated. Of course,
Fetch
we can,
posting for via
yeah,
call out.
yeah,
Okay.
we can have a method this here only, no issues. But still, I moved to a class like account future class, a simple
Mm-hmm.
class. And if I wanted to make something like call out, I should mention it here, where your particular method. See, you can run a future method which is simply trying to update a record in Salesforce, or it may try to call a service to a third party. So even both
Mm-hmm.
can happen. So when you're doing such services, calling to third party, you need to mention it out saying call it is good or true.
But I have one thing. In Java, I've never used call out. Is it more of a JavaScript kind of thing, this call out true and all that?
You mean JavaScript?
Yeah, so this call out keyword, right? What does it actually says? Because if you're having HTTP request and we are hitting a URL, that
Hmm.
is anyway saying that we are calling an external
Yeah.
URL. So
So
why do we need to
we should mention this. So whenever you're making such attempt to a third party or an external systems, we have to mention this call out.
that is a syntax.
That is syntax we have. Or else what
Okay.
it assumes is you are running locally. So it doesn't know
Oh,
that okay you're going outside. So you should give a gate pass saying that hey call out is equal to true.
okay, okay,
So
okay. So
go
this is
outside
a
also.
major difference between Java and Epic. So
I
I'm
mean, we
seeing
don't have
because
much. This is one thing which you say. So whenever you
uh,
wanted to do an integration, see, to
yeah.
yesterday in today's class actually. So I was to running a job, and then I was like, oh my god, where it went wrong. I was to looking at things because
Hmm.
so this is a batch epics which I use just to update 5 points, um, or sorry,
This is
10
the
points.
first. Yeah, you were updated to 10 points. Okay.
No, no, 5 or 10 points. This is fine. Uh,
Yeah.
the same, again, I've just moved on to update the 5 to 10 points on the day I showed you out.
Yeah. Same 10
So the
points. Yeah, I
same
saw the
class,
same.
I didn't match anything. So this is simply
Oh,
batch dot, sorry, database dot batchable. So this
right.
particular Apex, what it is doing is it's trying to update 10 points to every account, which is
Mm,
not equal to restaurant record time. Maybe business and individual customers we are trying to update.
right.
So this is the logic which we have. Agreed. So today, uh, see, this is only to internal sensors we are trying to do an activity. So now
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to call a call out, and that
Mm-hmm.
call out has to return back to Salesforce. So now look at
Mm-hmm.
this. So in this we don't have any integration call, but here we have
Mm-hmm.
integration call out. So I should say database dot allow call outs. I should say.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
wherever you
So,
make sure that okay you are doing an integration, saying that database dot allow call outs. So I think this is only
oh,
for a batch we have, and only for
okay.
a future class we should make it as call is equal to true.
Okay. And the future method cannot be in any trigger class, right?
So future can be there and trigger, no worries.
But integration cannot be there. The HTTP caller cannot be in the trigger class.
I mean, flatly they cannot have. See, all these triggers.
Mm.
So basically, they are running some logic to update a record instantly to a Salesforce. So you
Right.
said that hey, before update, along with this, do this change. Also saying
Oh, okay.
you're
So
trying to
I'm
do.
doing two
You're,
functions, two things at the same time.
some you are about to save some record. So you start
Mm-hmm.
with save to some record. I'll show you. So let's say this is an account you're doing it. Either you're trying to create a new record, or altogether you're trying to modify some existing record. So
Mm-hmm.
for modifying a change, so whatever the ABC that you're changing, let's say fax
Mm-hmm.
is not in our concern. You're trying to modify some number here. So you're
Mm-hmm.
modifying a number here which is about to save. Along with
Mm-hmm.
this, actually when you're trying to modify the same record, we say it is a before update.
Mm-hmm.
This is for modify. If you're trying to create a new record, that's in before insert. Like
Before insert, yeah.
yeah, maybe after saving this record, you're impacting someone else. We say it is an after trigger because
Mm-hmm.
you are no more. Your this particular triggers would be able to update it. When you are in after trigger, this whole record in read only mode. So where you cannot modify
Yeah.
the same record. So these are the things
Mm-hmm.
which we recently not figured out, saying that
Oh.
I mean I already said that okay not to trigger this in read mode. So recent yesterday or before yesterday, from after update also we tried to fire an integration service like say future class,
Mm-hmm.
but it failed to update a record. Why? Because in after trigger you are trying to update a record. Eventually you're updating the same object. When you're updating the same object,
Okay.
it becomes to a before update. And again in the before
Okay.
update you cannot have a daemon activity. So the
Okay.
craze will start there.
All these points when I'm watching the video, I remember, but I need to make a note. So it's like very. I think in the interview they might ask all this, right? What are the
Yeah,
differences?
they would be
Is
asking you.
before update? Yeah. I need to make
So
that note.
before in the sense, yes, is on the same object. After in the sense, you
Yeah.
are trying to hit on some other guys.
Someone others. Yeah.
So
Okay.
our focus is on that particular area only. Now I
Oh.
said that an after trigger, just like yesterday or day before yesterday, which we tried is an after trigger after update. The moment you try to update an account, so I'm firing someone else. It should be that way.
Mm.
Actually, what it is, we are not we didn't write to anyone. We came back to the same account object. We are updating it.
Updating. Okay.
So what
It should
happened
not
is
be the
that
account
yeah.
object.
So what happened is it said that he was this in read only mode, and what are you doing here now to try to update. So when
Mm-hmm.
it's in read mode and I'm trying to update the same object, so what actually happens is it is in read mode and you're trying to update the same object. So ideally, when you're updating the same object, which particular logic will run? It'll run before update logic will run. True, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while doing a
Yeah.
before update logic, somewhere you're trying to update the records.
Yeah.
You did a before update, right? You all did the
Mm.
calculations and everything. Valley got it, and you pointed out, and you're trying to do a DML activity. How can a before trigger can have a DML update?
Mm-hmm.
Is a DML, right? Statement.
Yeah. DML.
So
Yeah.
I said that before updates cannot have, sorry, before trigger itself cannot have a DML statements. So then again, it
Mm-hmm.
was contradicting. Was you taken a read record, read only mode record, and you're trying to update the same record.
Update.
So it cannot
Okay.
do insert or update activity on the same object at that particular time.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm getting it, Khan, but I have to actually go and actually
Yeah,
read it
yeah,
so that it sits in my mind.
yeah.
When
So to do
go-
this, what it is, we have kept some solutions here. So Maybe if I'm just like fastering the process to
So
you.
these pointers, can you please send it in the drive for us so that
Yeah, yeah, surely I have to do it. Just
because we can keep reading it and it'll little bit gets memorized.
yeah,
Otherwise, it will be too much at
yeah,
once.
yeah. So I just given a few, samples onto the future methods, why cubal, this
Uh-huh.
comparison we have kept it here. And today I was explaining while doing that. So what went wrong? Why we have to have the solutions in place? Implementations. No, need to learn sense was okay. Points to remember on trigger. So before update, we cannot have DML. After trigger, where the account object is in read-only mode, so we cannot update the same object.
Hmm.
So that is the point of junction. Future is running in a different transaction. However, the update indicates the same object is equivalent to before update. So I think the same point here.
Hmm.
Anyway, we are having update statement. So whenever you are updating, since we are updating on the same object, it reads again to the before trigger, and before trigger cannot have DML. So
Hmm. Yeah.
in our logic, we had it. So we what
Oh.
for this problem, what solutions we brought it up is we had three different ways which we wanted to achieve
Hmm.
it. So do a
Okay.
manual transaction where on the account record, so on the account object record, let's say this is Raja, and the fetch distance is the one button I brought it up, and
Mm-hmm.
this button is invoking a flow. So that
Mm-hmm.
flow it is trying to call an Apex class. So basically that
Mm-hmm.
is trying to call a schedulable class. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, it's calling a batch class.
But okay.
Uh, so in order to say you something, so you have to understand this now. So account
Yeah.
invocable class we have to write it where we should have at the rate invocable method is the annotations we should
Mm.
have it. So what
Okay.
is this annotations indicates is whenever you are trying to work with a process builder or a
Mm-hmm.
flows, from
Mm-hmm.
there you wanted to call a class.
Mm-hmm.
See, so far in the process builder, what it is, it's a point click configuration, right?
Right.
So you try to do something more than the workflow. Let's say field update, fire an email,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
automatically submit the approval. All this you're doing it. But
Right.
there's a class also you can call it. From a process builder,
Okay.
you can also call a class.
Class.
So while
Okay.
you're calling a class, the particular class should have at the rate invocable method should be defined. I mean, this
Okay.
annotation should be defined.
Okay.
Okay. So why I have written is because so while creating a buttons like this, so the button can call few things. Either
Mm-hmm.
lightning component can call, or a visual first page it can call, or something like a flow it can call. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
very easy option to have a flow, which is simple like a flow process builder. We have to do some configuration. Hey, launch screen. Okay, call the Apex class. Now I call the Apex class as this.
Mm-hmm. And
If you see,
how is the integration done from the button to the class? Like on the click that it is calling that
yeah,
class,
so
where
you
is
can
it
do.
done?
Yeah, it is now. You can see. I would remove this value. Okay, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saving this record.
Mm-hmm.
So you should see the distance between you and restaurant is now nothing we have.
Right.
Okay, now distance between you and my restaurant is this McDonald's zip code, and my current zip code is this. So I
Mm-hmm.
should figure out this between two guys, and I should say you and restaurant how much is the kilometers or miles you have. Okay, basically we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about kilometers. Now fetch distance. The moment I click it on, so what happens is it launches a flow, and the flow is
Mm-hmm.
calling this class, which is this invocable class. In the
That's
invocable
what I
class,
want to know. Like, how is it invoking? How is it launching a flow? Can you show when you click on the fetch distance button?
okay, I think I should show you the flow. I mean, what we have done a basic configuration. So I'll show you in the.
Okay.
I think this is all we have done in today's class. You should, if you're able to see them,
I'm very, very far from today's class, Kant. I know for sure. So I'll catch the bus soon.
somehow in between like 10 minutes you can every day you can see
That is what I'm doing nowadays.
you get a gap of 10 minutes you just implement
Just
them.
turn on the phone and see what's going on in
Okay,
the class.
this is the one which I've written. Update zip
Updates.
code for account.
Okay.
So this is a flow which I've written, and what this flow is indicating, so don't get panic of seeing this. Okay.
Okay. This
The-
you didn't do this in admin class. This is something different.
yeah, this is little different, where something like a possibility we have, this is something like drag and drop resources we have. Okay,
Okay.
now because
Yeah.
in that particular button we have only these few things. So today I got a chance to
Okay.
say something on admin. With along with admin, how do you invoke some logical stuff?
Mm-hmm.
See, advanced class in itself indicates we are way behind. I mean, we are moving much forward than the basic admin guys.
Right. Right.
So at that time, of course, we may get this real-time scenarios. Today, if you join some other project, you would see a number of flows, process builders, all that. I mean, we are
Okay.
just getting into use case now. So we're talking about a
Okay.
project, we're talking about distance, we're talking about integration. So of course, all these points will keep coming in.
Yeah.
So I mean, doing all this, you would be a 5 years experience professional. Trust me.
Okay.
To that level experience, you'll gain it. But
So you
here,
came to the flow and started created a new flow here.
so start a flow. This is a screen-based flow we have, and this is
Uh-huh.
auto layout based. And what we're
Okay.
doing is we're doing a fetch account here. So which is
Okay.
the object that we have to give account object, and I say distance
Uh-huh.
between you and restaurant should be null. Only then I
Okay.
can update the record. I don't, or else I
Mm-hmm.
don't want. So take the first record and update the all the fields.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so this is a simple entry condition. Which object,
Mm-hmm.
what condition? You get it?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So and I'm saying that only the first record. Of course, you are manually hitting this record. This is only one record I will flow in. You are
Okay.
hitting here, right? So it is only one
Yeah.
record.
Right.
So this record only I want to update. So I said only one record, only the first record. So
Oh.
though we know that this record is flowing in, only this particular record only I wanted it. I don't want all the
Oh.
records.
All the
All the records
records.
means it's something like select star.
Oh, okay.
I just want only one of these record which I picked it.
Mm-hmm.
Automatically store all the fields if something an update operations happens. So the next instant thing is okay. You call the account object. You know that this is a particular object record which has been fired.
Mm-hmm.
So now update account. This is the method which I used.
Update account.
So in this, what we're trying to do is we are trying to call. Uh, okay, this update account invocable is something.
Invocation.
It's this is all talking about this particular class. Where is that?
Account invocable class. Okay.
Update. Did you see this update account? This is a statement
Yeah.
we have there.
Mm-hmm.
Flow builder has update account.
Okay.
So use values from earlier in the flow to set up update account apex action. So the moment it tries to you invoke a flow here, right? Where is that?
Mm-hmm. Fetch.
You're saying update an account, right? So the
Yeah.
moment what it happens is it tries to call the apex class. At that time, what
Oh.
happens? It goes here. It doesn't make sense of any of this class. It just sees this label name.
Invocable. Okay. And the update account.
This label
Okay.
only it sees up.
Mm-hmm.
You getting update account and this is what I can see here. Where's that? This.
So if you're having multiple invocable methods, the label should not be the same. It should be
Yes.
different label.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now look
Okay.
at this. Update account apex action. So come to your class and you see update account apex that action. This is overall the apex class we have and only one
Mm-hmm.
actions we have. And you cannot
Okay.
have too many. I mean, you cannot have the same class for multiple invocable. You cannot have it. So you need to have
Mm.
different new classes and unique.
Invocatables, in unique labels and
Yeah,
different
only
flows.
one method we can have such named as at the rate annotations in one particular class.
Oh, okay.
You cannot have
Okay.
another at the rate invocable method. You cannot have it.
Have different class. You need to have different class.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 I got it.
Okay. Then what else?
So
Okay.
this button, what you created, right? Fetch distance.
Yeah. So
How that is linked to this
mhm,
flow?
okay, very good question. So when you wanted to get this button, you have to add to the layout. So this
Right.
button
Yeah.
just doesn't comes right. Firstly,
Yeah.
if you wanted to create this button is called a quick action button.
Okay. Okay.
So how do you go it? Go to an object manager and then jump to account object and to the layout. Before jumping to layout, you have to create some buttons, right?
Yeah. Leave.
So buttons and links and actions. You can come here. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to create a new action, so we don't call as button, we call as new action. This is something like quick
Okay.
actions, you call it. So the moment you
Okay.
click on new quick action, so it says what are the options that you wanted it. So I wanted to create a record.
Flow.
So if you create
Mm-hmm.
a record, you are trying to use some existing feature account. These
Mm-hmm.
are existing layout by default they give it. Salesforce
Right.
themselves they give it. But we're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to create a record here. We wanted to call some custom button which is trying to fetch the distance. So
Right.
this all will not solve my problem. So custom visual
Mm.
force, yes, it can solve. Where you have to
Mm-hmm.
have some other class again you're calling in. Still we are not
Okay.
getting joining of
Not there.
visual. Not
Okay.
we didn't create any visual force so far.
Right.
Okay, update a record. So I wanted to update a record. Again, this comes an option of uh, again something like this UI it comes in. You know this something
Oh,
if
okay.
I edit this, so how
Mm-hmm.
this layout is there. So this layout comes
Oh,
in picture. So that is what it
okay.
indicates about update record. Again, I don't
Okay.
want that.
You need a flow,
So
right?
I have a custom option, something like custom visual force, lightning component, or
Lightning
flow.
component and flow. Okay.
So out of these two things are UI based, where custom code we write, and the flow is
Mm.
something like I can configure.
Right. Okay.
So that's the reason I picked up this flow. And
Okay.
few actions that we have: update zip code for account,
That is the
update
flow you created, right? Okay.
the flow name it is.
Flow name. Oh, okay. Now I know how it is linked. Okay. Okay. Okay.
See,
Then
this
the
is
name.
update.
Now I know. Okay. Okay. That's okay. Now it
Now,
is.
1 second. So zip code, the flow is ready. So again, you
Mm-hmm.
choose what should be a title here, standard type. You don't have anything, it's okay, you can leave it up. And the label I
Oh,
give it as fetch distance, and then
that's
I
just
saved it.
okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Then you
button.
add that to the layout.
So coming to the layout, so I went to the business customer. Is it yesterday? Both I've modified. So I came to individual. Any of this, both I've modified. I'll
Mm-hmm.
go one, and you can see them in the quick actions and
Quick.
mobile lightning
Oh,
actions. So you have to
okay.
modify in the, though it is a quick actions, I think you have to go click on mobile and lightning actions, because this is mapping
Oh,
to your mobile and as well as the lightning desktop.
okay.
So
Okay.
fetch distance is the one which I used it.
You just have to drag and drop where you want, right?
Yeah. So look at this fetch and
Okay.
distance. It was the last,
Oh,
I dragged and dropped to the front and I saved it.
oh, okay.
And now
Okay.
I
Okay.
open a record, I got this button here. So now anyway,
Oh,
these values are not there, right? So I'm just fetching
right.
the distance here.
Okay.
So your flow finished. So we can have
Oh,
different messages also, it's okay. So your
okay.
flow launched or an executed successfully because it's something that UI picked up.
And you have given that message in the flow where you created, right?
We can have, but I didn't give any message, but default it's launched.
Oh,
And then saying that,
default. Okay.
yeah, your flow is finished.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So after refreshing the record, I could see. So it had updated. Oh, it didn't update. Why? Because I got to know, but the API keys would have been expired.
Oh, oh, okay. Got it.
It
Every
didn't update
time you need
because
to
I mean this is the open source we have. So the API code which I have to again refresh and get the latest one.
get the API code. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that also. I'm just gonna copy this. So go to labels, custom labels, and update the API code.
Custom labels. You have put the API code there, or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did the remote settings there. There you don't give. You only give the base.
Base URL. Yeah.
URL.
So I want to keep in labels is often we try to modify this stuff, right? So
Okay.
in
Okay.
production tomorrow, if you go something you wanted to modify, on the UI only can do it instead of doing in a
Yeah.
code.
Right.
I mean, this is the
And
best
that is
practice.
a fast thing which you
Yeah, you can
can.
do save and then class done. So
Yeah.
by doing this, now let me try to update the same flow again. Where's the record? Rajara? Yeah. So I know because of that particular reason only it didn't pick up the record.
But did it give that error that API was API key expired?
Yeah, I mean it would have given here in the previous record which has been fired here. So 6K we have no. So let
Mm-hmm.
me see that. And that debug would have been thrown saying that. Um, so endpoint null or responsible. See this error code 401 API key not found.
API key not found. Okay, okay.
So we can also get this message and throw it up in the record saying that hey, API key is
Okay.
not updated. We can still show.
Huh.
These are all the options that we have. So now since again I have executed, so again the serial batch has been executed. Because
Okay.
this particular developer console class which I tried to do invocable, so it is calling the batch class here.
Right.
So calling a batch class, see, we are calling a batch class. We can also try to write this whole logic, whatever we written,
Mm-hmm.
we can directly have into this invocable. Need not to be batch class also.
Oh,
Because
okay, okay.
invocable also runs in a different transaction, like how other guys are running.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because again, I said as void here, right? So void means you don't return anything. So we need not worry about it. From a flow, we are calling this class, and this particular class method is like void. They don't return anything. So we
Right.
don't care about it. Of
Okay.
course, you can also have a service, integration service here.
Hmm.
So I don't want, but I just simply called a batch class which is already using it. So I tried
Mm-hmm.
to fire the batch. And now,
So it did not update the distance, or did it?
no, no, I should refresh the record.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
There it is.
57,
Okay.
51.997.
Hmm.
977. So yes, of course, this is one way which you did today. and the other one
Mm-hmm.
is automatic transactions via batch. Okay, we can automate the transaction, write a batch, and schedule it for every 1 hour or 12 a.m. every day night.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying
Is
to
it
do
same
from a
like
man,
schedulable batch, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you written
Okay.
a batch class. We trying to call in
Mm.
this flow method. Sorry, yeah, in the flows we try to call the right.
Okay,
So
okay,
where
okay.
you try to hit a button, you're doing a manual transaction. Same batch,
Okay.
if you schedule it, it'll run every day night.
Okay, okay.
And again, is if you wanted to run a future method, okay. Now what happen is future and after update, I cannot update on the same object. I tried to update on the contact object. It worked. I mean, yeah, that is the use
Oh,
case of it.
okay.
Triggers are basically after triggers will try to impact another object. I tried
Other
on that.
object, yeah.
So while dealing with after update on account object, still the future method works for the other objects to update a contact. So
Mm.
from a account to contact, I tried to update.
So after trigger always work on the same object as well as other object, right? Or
After,
after trigger doesn't work on update the same
so
object. All always.
you can use the current record. That is something the account which you are about to, I mean which you saved it actually. So they are
Oh,
in read
that is.
mode. That is in
Mm-hmm.
read mode. Using
Mm.
this record, you can try to call your child class or some other class.
Oh,
I mean
right, right.
objects which you wanted to update, but you cannot
Oh,
impact the same guy because they are already in
oh,
read mode.
okay, okay, okay.
It's something. It's just like you came out of the office and then you say that I'm done, boss. I can't go again. But you
Mm-hmm.
can give the information to someone to do some activity,
Okay, okay,
just
okay.
like that.
How long was today's class?
It was about 2 hours, but only Kumar was there.
Okay. The other class also you did the debugging. That was also 2 hours class. I remember.
I mean, this is stretching is because we are
We missed the class yesterday, right?
no, no yeah, I think
Yesterday nobody
yeah,
was there.
somebody was
Yeah, I
there.
was there. I read all the messages, but I cannot attend the class. That is my thing.
So
Yeah.
why
So.
this is actually dragging up if you think. See, purposely few times I bring it up the errors because while watching
Mm,
some errors only you'll get to know. Oh my God, this is the error. Okay, how to solve
yeah,
this way.
that's true. That's true.
So I want to drive. Or else if I say always the right path and take this answer, you'll never know
Yeah.
the negative part of it. So
Mm-hmm.
so purposely on a trigger after update or before, I'm trying to do that because if you see errors, okay, this is errors I've seen. Tomorrow, if anyone asks you a question, yes, if while doing this I got an error, you'll be
Oh,
talking like as though you have been tried and you got the error.
oh,
So
yeah.
that is something sits in your mind. So
So it looks like trigger is very important in Salesforce, right? This is
I
like
mean,
the backbone mostly of
of course, yes,
this
yes,
course.
because I told you right. So they are something like surgeon. So often we
Mm,
don't go to a surgeon easily. So we see
yeah.
all the basic guys and then only we go to surgeon. And
Mm-hmm.
surgeon to touch is like, of course, something serious.
Okay, okay,
So like
okay.
that, you have all point like flows, process builders, workflows, upper process, all this you have. Still, you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go to a trigger. Okay, think twice. Yes, of course, yes, you wanted it. So what is the complexity that you have to think through? Simple update. Why
Mm,
don't we do in a process builders app? Because while doing all such in the point click configurations, you don't have to be in a painful process. You not to keep track about whether it's a before guy or after guy. All this need not to be worried because you have to see them the order of execution when this guy will run. So will this guy impact others or not? So all this headache will come in
right,
picture.
right, 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 right.
So just
Oh,
do by the point click majority in case a simple update and all if you think, or you
okay.
are
Oh,
trying to one guy is updating other guy and that kind of complex calculations where our existing point clicks cannot happen, then best to
mm-hmm.
jump onto the triggers.
Okay, okay, okay. Sounds good, Kant. Thank you so much for your time. And one other question before I let you go was, so right now I'm watching Dev Advanced Dev Class 5. How many more videos? I think this is the last video you uploaded and you have not uploaded
No,
any
no,
other
two
video
videos I
after
have to
this.
upload. Two videos I have to upload
Okay.
because the last
Okay.
video why I stopped it because we stopped onto debugging of account trigger which cannot update the same object. So
Okay. Okay.
so that is having some flaw. We left something that okay next class we'll discuss and update it. And today
Okay.
because yesterday we didn't take class, so I don't want to say that something is stopped with it doesn't work. So
Okay.
options we have to work with. We have to get some solutions, and the class
Mm.
cannot go exceed more than 2 hours. No, so I cannot put
Oh,
a
right.
solution there only. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
waited actually to get the solution,
Oh,
and now we got
okay.
it. So both I'll try to update.
So mostly I have 3 hours class again coming up, right? Three
Yes.
hours of videos.
So you will see that
Okay.
something is not working, something is working, but you please watch
Uh,
it everything because a couple
yeah,
of
yeah,
minutes
yeah.
you'll get it. So why it is missing? Why?
Okay.
I mean, it's very
Yeah.
interesting to know and point, and you can frame a lot of questions out of that. and
Right.
I'm there to answer all of those. And if new questions
Okay.
want also, I think I can answer you.
Okay, okay, Kant. Yeah, so these were my questions from the videos I went through, and you gave me a little bit overview of the classes you went after. That is a good, but I'll go through the videos, and again, I know for sure I'll have questions. I'll come back to you.
Perfect. You are great. You have been
Oh,
following there.
yeah. Okay, Kant, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time.
No, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.